Even though we have warmed back into the 80s today, it doesn't mean we're snapping right back to the lower 90s. In fact, we'll stay in the 80s for high temperatures through early next week with fairly minimal rain chances through at least Saturday, though some changes are on the way Sunday and into the first part of next week. And that's part of at least slightly above average rain chances that are likely to continue into middle August across most of the southeast. Rain chances for this afternoon, though, very spotty. In fact, we'll be mostly dry. A shower or brief storm up in the North Georgia mountains not out of the question, and maybe on the west side of the metro, but clearly much lower rain coverage than previous days. We'll be mostly clear overnight, a dry start to Thursday, a mixture of clouds and sunshine throughout the day tomorrow, and once again, isolated showers and storms from about Canton and Gainesville northward into western North Carolina. Most of that stays well north of the metro, and we're expecting dry weather to hold here as temperatures stay in the middle 80s. We're going to get into Sunday, where rain chances do increase to about 40%. And then getting into next week, about a 50-50 chance at rain and possible storms on Monday and Tuesday. Highs will be staying in the 80s. Overnight lows will be warming up out of the 60s that we've been enjoying recently back to the low 70s. That's a sign that extra humid air is going to be back soon. Rain chances will be slightly lower by next Wednesday as daytime highs approach 90.